Hello, my name is Patrick Huang. I'm here to present the paper Exquisite Squirrels, Collaborative Drawing in the Space-Time of Post-Digital Representation, co-authored by Suki Hui and myself. What is the function of architecture drawings, particularly those drawn by students that are conducive to learning? Through two examples, this paper aims to illustrate the process of the collaborative analysis and the synthesis. It seeks a new agency to explore the visuality of the productive observation rather than the optical graphics of realism. Since the use of computer-aided design programs were widely accepted in the early 1990s, the act of drawing has been transformed. Rather than relying on the drawings to articulate ideas, advocate position, to explore, or to think through a problem, it is now commonplace for architects to make marketable rendered spectacles. Hyperrealism has become a norm. In architecture enters the age of post-digital drawing. Saint Jacob argues that the culture of digital rendering has almost killed a critical architectural act, which is the facility to speculate through drawing. He asserted that the high-fidelity rendering have transformed the architecture drawings as the body double of photography, presenting the audience with a realistic image of the building to be, and indirectly creating a deep fake representation of the world at large. Similarly, Alberto Perez Gomez questioned the role of computer graphics as merely a tool of systematic representation, degenerating it into a banal mannerism. Back in the 12th century, Chinese artists used the format of a hand scroll to depict an urban landscape. One of the best known examples is along the river during the Qingming festival. Copies of the scroll flourished since the late 1800s. One of the versions is a collaboration of 5 painters from the Imperial Painting Academy under the Qinglong Emperor. Collaborative drawing has been widely explored within and beyond architecture, forming a contemporary discourse on drawing. Tsukamoto and Kajima of Atelier Bawa challenge a group of their students to observe deeply of their surroundings and record their discoveries as a series of public drawings. There is also the drawing game, Dot the Dot, created by the so-called Texas Rangers. It was a weekly entertainment session of an intriguing collective drawing game where the emphasis was placed on the inventive fluency of hand drawing and the innate knowledge of historic city plans. Building upon this tradition, the exquisite scrolls continue and portray urban landscape in the format of a long drawing, while integrates the collaborative nature of the contemporary design process. The exquisite scroll asks students to generate drawings collectively, to facilitate conversations and foster cooperation between them. The act of drawing has become a platform of engagement, relational and contingent upon the action of those contributing authors. Beyond drawing what is observed, the exercise is a negotiated act. The dialogical aspect of the exercise is acknowledged as a crucial element of the methodology. The exquisite scroll is guided by 5 rules of engagement. Number 1, the 10-meter long drawing is divided equally by the number of students. Number 2, each student is responsible for drawing within the numeric confine. Number 3, within the confine, there are 3 areas identified as A, B, and C. Number 4, the student's main drawing shall be drawn in area B. And finally, number 5, area A and C shall be created and reacted to the student's neighboring drawings. The first theme working within this drawing framework is called Streets of Kowloon. This piece began from students reading the book Atlas, an Archaeology of an Imaginary City, a quasi-fiction written by the novelist Dong Kai-jung, depicting the history of a fictional city called Victoria, also known as Hong Kong. Much like the city adventures explored by Paul Auster, Jorge Luis Borges, and Italo Calvino, Don Quixote's novel challenges the representation of place and history. In Chapter 3, the colonial histories of the streets are seamlessly interwoven with its future projections, morphing reality with the imaginative. Sprang from this narrative, each student selected a street to work with. Depicting the streets of Kowloon, the drawing shows a city's characteristics from what it was, what it is, to what it could be. It folds, blends, propagates, and extrapolates history, theory, and fiction into a long scroll. A focused examination unfolds an interesting crisscross of time and space. The transmutation and intersections of various streets reveals a dialogue between the past and present. Boundary Street is drawn into two directions in time, showing the disappeared historic territories that once divided Hong Kong from China. Farmers from the new territories sow flowers next to the Kowloon-Kuntong railways. The centuries-old farming villages was transformed into a middle-class garden city estate. The scene then mutates to the Goldfish Streets, where fish shops congregate. At the end of this exercise, we invited Dong Kai-jung to the School of Architecture, so to engage him on a conversation about the city and between literature and architecture. The second theme working within this drawing framework is called sectioning adaptive reuse. It is an exploration of 10 historic transformation projects across their sectional spaces by 10 students of architecture. Each of the case studies have gone through at least one transformation process in its life. Prior to drawing, students research original sketches, the building's history, context, methods of adaptive reuse, and created interpretive sectional drawings. It demonstrated that the archaeological layering of the building. Drawing, photographs, newspapers, and the building itself becomes a valuable resource to create a collaged understanding and interpretation of the building. Students are asked to draw the case studies with scales and various and viewpoints that best reflect the nature of the design. In contrast to the original surrealist game, in which participants' own contribution is concealed from the next player. Students here needed to be familiar with their neighboring case studies and to make suitable transmutations. For example, Herzog and Demeron's Cassia form mutating into metaphors Hong Kong Blue House cluster, while Ibis and Vittard architects Musée des Beaux-Arts transform into Bernard Shumi's Le Fresnoy contemporary art. The end of the section thus becomes a threshold, making visible the moment of passage between precedent and original production. In this exercise, the drawing generates different ways of seeing adaptive reuse strategies in architecture. Following the exercise, students are asked to design and articulate an adaptive reuse intervention to an undervalued heritage building in Kowloon City. Their projects are conceived in sections as an interpretive narrative before translating it into their design project. Conclusion. Exquisite Scroll challenged the ingrained notions of authorship, originality, and ownership that dominate our understanding of architecture. In the age of post-digital representation, the hand-drawn exercise served as a site of imaginative exploration. The physical presence of the drawing paper provided an engaging context through which the students not only created but collaborated in. It offered a material resistance that is currently unattainable through the digital format. Inspired by the Chinese scroll painting and the spirit of the public drawing from the West, Exquisite Scroll offer a framework that enables the thematic translations of the analytical to the projective, allowing the drawing to regain its position as an instrument and activity of thought. Thank you very much.